Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 10 Thoughts video. I just finished watching the latest episode of The Clone Wars on Disney Plus, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. This episode is the second part in the Battle for Mandalore, the Siege on Mandalore storyline, which is the final storyline we're getting it for this Clone Wars season and for the whole Clone Wars series, which I've talked about in other videos about being very kind of bittersweet feeling of, it's great to kind of get to the conclusion of the story, but it's also sad because we're not going to get any more Clone Wars, especially as these last ones have been some of my favorites. Particularly this one, I really enjoyed this episode. This one, like I said, second part in the Battle for Mandalore. We start off this episode with Ahsoka surrounded by Maul and his forces, and Maul's pretty much given her just a very long, not very long, but a little monologue. You just pretty much catching her up on where he's at in his life a little bit, or what his motivations are, I should say. He was hoping that Kenobi would show up and maybe even bring Anakin, because he sees that there's this plan going on behind the Clone Wars that he's put together and that he's kind of alluding to at first to Ahsoka before he just drops the complete name of Darth Sidious on her, which I found surprising that she hadn't heard before, but that's also one of those things that's hard to keep track of which characters know what sometimes when you're doing a whole big franchise like this. But anyways, yeah, so he dropped the Darth Sidious name on her and drops the information in a sense that he has knowledge that there's something going on with the universe, there's more, or with the galaxy, and that there's more to the Clone Wars than that the Jedi and Ahsoka in particular actually realize. And so that was kind of just a fun little kind of reveal and a kind of fun exchange between those two to start off the episodes, and the clones come in and save her a bit, or make Maul run away. So that was a fun little thing. We then see Kenobi, or we see Ahsoka talk with Kenobi via hologram, and we see that Obi-Wan Kenobi tell Ahsoka about Dooku's death, which is another one of these fun things I like about this final storyline, which is it ties into the Revenge of the Sith movie, which it's going on during the same time as it. So I really like that we kind of get caught up and being like, okay, this is where Kenobi's at now. He's heading to go get General Grievous after Anakin killed Dooku, and now is on a secret mission for the Jedi Council, and pretty much Obi-Wan tells Ahsoka all of this and pretty much gets her up to date about what's pretty much all the stuff that's happened for the first 30 minutes of Revenge of the Sith. So I just love those ties, and I just love this idea of just in my mind, in this universe that he's we're seeing this hologram of him, and he's still in the Revenge of the Sith story, going through his Revenge of the Sith story, and it's just, these are the fun things I love about these kind of these big franchises with the big universes. So that was just a really fun little thing to see, and to then also see Ahsoka's reaction, and that she's very understanding, almost in a sense of where Anakin is upset with the Jedi Council during Revenge of the Sith. She has the same kind of reaction of being like, wait, you asked Anakin to spy on the Chancellor? He's been like a mentor to him, and they've been really cool for the most part, and and Obi-Wan gives the typical Jedi kind of stuff of being like, yeah, but he's been in power too long, and the Council's not always right. That's why I'm asking you to go get Maul, and maybe we can get more answers. And so that was just kind of a fun to see the tie, but also to see Ahsoka's reaction being kind of on the side of Anakin in a sense, maybe not as far. This is where it gets fun into kind of exploring that a little bit of a I know this isn't technically a canon thing, but the idea of the gray Jedi, the one who's kind of in the middle, the Force user is more in the middle, and and seeing that Ahsoka's reaction kind of gives me that kind of feeling of being like, well, we know Anakin's kind of the extreme with his reactions of then going to the dark side, and you can almost say that Obi-Wan is the extreme to the light side, because we do see that he has emotions in the most part, but he tries to push them away, thinking that they're only bad. And then we see Ahsoka's kind of in the middle, especially we kind of see that with her reaction of being like, she doesn't agree with what the Jedi Council does, but she definitely wouldn't agree with the route that Anakin goes. We also learn that near the end of this episode, which I'll try to remember to get back to once I get to that point. So we see them have a conversation, and then, Obi-Wan has to go capture General Grievous, so he goes off, and we also see Ahsoka having, to run off and try and get Maul. So that was really interesting. We also then, pop back and forth between Maul and Ahsoka a few times, and we see Maul giving a couple different monologues where he's telling pretty much, yeah, I know everything about what's going on. I know what the Emperor's plan is. I know what Star Wars is. I've got George Lucas's handbook or guidebook, and it's just, he doesn't say that word for word, obviously, but it was just kind of fun to see. I love getting a Darth Maul monologue, and then, him giving away his evil plan, not giving away his evil plan, but kind of alluding to what he, because he knows what's happening. That's what it is. He's had dreams of, pretty much of the future. He's had these Force visions, and he even at one point says it's due to his calculations of what, pretty much what the Emperor's plan is, what Darth Sidious's plan is. It's fun because I don't think he knows that Darth Sidious is Palpatine. I don't know if he has that connection, but he knows that he's somehow connected to the Republic in some fashion. That's the one thing I was like, wait, you haven't dropped the Palpatine name yet there, bud. Do you know if he's Palpatine or not? That's a fun little thing I'm curious about, because there's points where in the, particularly actually in episode 1 in The Phantom Menace, that's fun about this episode being called The Phantom Apprentice, The Phantom Menace, that you see them together, but, he's always got the Darth Sidious always has the big cloak on whenever he's around one of his apprentices, so it's like, do any of them know that he's Palpatine? I would assume not. If I was him, I would keep that secret from my, my Sith apprentice. But it was just an interesting kind of thought that I had. Well, Maul was kind of, I don't want to say gloating, but kind of, what's the word? He was just kind of, like I said, he was doing a monologue where he was explaining pretty much to one of the clones what's going on with the universe, that it's going to get reset and that there's going to be a whole new order to it, and all these things alluding to the fact that he's very aware of what's about to go down at the end of Revenge of the Sith, which is literally, I guess, within the world, hours or days away from happening. That's one thing about Star Wars, is it's so hard for me to keep track of time in it. I'm like sometimes I watch one of the movies and I'm like, did this take place over a day or 4 weeks? I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't know how long they're in space sometimes, how long they're in hyperspace for sometimes. So just it's kind of a funny little thing to be like, okay, well, we got 2 more episodes of the Clone Wars. How does that line up with Revenge of the Sith timeline wise? Because even this one, I was like, even this episode, it was interesting to be like, oh, okay, so I guess they've only gone through they only went through the battle on the battle over Coruscant part of Revenge of the Sith, and so and Kenobi hasn't even gotten to the General Grievous part yet, or hunting General Grievous part yet. So it's just kind of funny to try and kind of line up timeline wise in a sense, especially since obviously we don't get the full, it's not minute for minute that we're going through these stories. We're getting cuts and bits and pieces. It's just sometimes hard to know how big the gaps are in the cuts. So Maul talks a lot about Palpatine's plan and how he kind of knows it, but we don't know if he knows if it's Palpatine or not, or I don't know if he knows it's Palpatine or not. Then we see Maul and Ahsoka have another nice long chat, which I really enjoyed about this episode. A lot of chatting, a lot of fun before we got to the cool stuff. Then we see that Maul, pretty much tells Ahsoka even more about how he knows that the universe is gonna get reset, that the balance of power is gonna get reset, and so he ends up trying to recruit Ahsoka to team up with him to take on Darth Sidious. And we see Ahsoka actually at first is just kind of like, well, maybe. But then she asks a question about what Maul's interest in Anakin was, because we heard at one point that he had a dream where he had, I guess, seen Anakin or heard the name Skywalker, made the connection to Skywalker. And so she asks about it, and he's like, well, he's the linchpin. He's the one that makes this shit get destroyed. He's the one who destroys the balance to the Force and makes this shit all go down. I was planning to go kill him to be actually, to stop the Emperor, to stop Sidious's plan. And that's when Ahsoka's like, wait, no, I can't help you then. Why would you think I would team up with you? And then they do my favorite part about Star Wars, which is lightsaber fighting, which was a really great one in this episode. I thought one thing I'm not sure because I'm not an expert on animation styles, but it does seem like they, I don't know, it looked a little more high def than normal for me. Maybe this is a little bit more detailed and a little bit more I don't know, it seemed very smooth for animation in particular, and I don't know, I really enjoyed seeing the Ahsoka and Maul just lightsaber fight, which was really great, seeing it kind of transition between these different places and just being badass, seeing the double lightsaber versus the two lightsabers, or the double bladed lightsaber of Maul versus the two lightsabers of Ahsoka, and just seeing the different styles, seeing Ahsoka get disarmed a considerable number of times, but still being able to retrieve her stuff and still keep up with Maul, and able to eventually spoiler alert if you made it this far into the video, but defeat Maul and capture him with the help of some of the clones. But yeah, it was just really awesome to kind of see that fight. I thought, like I said, I just thought it looked really cool. It was just, I liked seeing them and just kind of imagining the what's going on through the characters' minds through this, and how they have to it's just way in depth because I'm a little crazy like that. But anyways, I didn't really enjoy seeing that. And another part that was really great about this was just seeing the general clone and Mandalorians fighting the Death Watch and Maul's Mandalorian troops. So that was just really cool to see more of that battle too, which I thought was another thing that made me really think that the animation style seemed like it had a slight upgrade versus a normal episode. Maybe I'm just misremembering the other episodes. Not that the other episodes are lesser quality, just this one and just some of the action scenes seemed like they had a little bumped up a little more, and it was a little more smoother. It felt a little closer to I don't know, it seemed smoother in my mind. But anyways, I really enjoyed seeing the clone and Mandalorian battles going on Mandalore as well, which were just really interesting to see. This is the Clone Wars. Obviously you got to see some clones getting in some wars. Yeah, so that's pretty much all my thoughts. Once we get to the end with Ahsoka capturing Maul, he's knocked out, and just before he gets knocked out, he's all just like, kill me, we're all gonna die, da da da. And I'm just like, I love that Maul is like the raving madman of the Star Wars universe, and said, even though he's right about the apocalypse, in a sense, the end days, the end of the Republic, which is coming in the next few hours or few days, depending on how Star Wars time works. Yeah, so it's just kind of fun place to leave this episode off, and then going into the next episode to kind of be like, I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of attempt at an interrogation of Maul to try and get a little more out of him, so that they can try and figure out who Sidious is. I am curious to see where Kenobi and Anakin potentially cross over into this. We haven't seen in the trailer. We saw clips of pregnant Padme and Anakin interacting, so I'm guessing we're getting that in the next couple episodes, and that obviously is stuff that ties more into Revenge of the Sith, or filling in more of the gaps of Revenge of the Sith, or not the gaps of Revenge of the Sith, but what was going on during the Revenge of the Sith with some of the characters that we didn't see during the Revenge of the Sith movie. Yeah, so I'm really excited to get to the next couple episodes, but at the same time, I'm also like, we're almost at the end of Star Wars. But luckily they announced more, we got more Mandalorian coming, the Mandalorian coming in a few months, and then they just recently announced that they're doing a season 3 as well, so we got plenty more Star Wars to come. But it is a little bit, like I said, bittersweet that we're almost at the end of the Clone Wars. But yes, that's all my thoughts on this latest episode of the Clone Wars. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about this latest episode. And if you want to hear some more of my thoughts on different Star Wars stuff, I've got a Star Wars playlist, which I'll link here and at the end of the video. But yes, thanks again for joining me today. Sure, subscribe to the channel if not already, and have a good one.